Hi there, my name is Paul Collins, CEO and co-founder of SkillsTX, and welcome to another one of the demo series. This one we're going to focus on managing requirements. In our terminology, requirements very often translate as jobs, roles or positions. However, we have a much broader definition because requirements can indeed be things like projects or a particular piece of work that needs performed and needs certain skills, and we can define a requirement to illustrate that. So let's have a look at what we've got in this demo. Okay. So first of all, what are they? We'll have a look in the system at some examples. We'll also have a look at how you can use samples. We currently have 675 sample requirements in the system. We'll have a look at where they came from and how you can use them. Obviously, keeping your requirements up to date. Based on research, it's highly likely that many jobs and roles will change by 10% per year based on the skills that are required to perform them. So obviously there's a continual requirement to keep them up to date. Assigning requirements to your workforce. We have a concept of current and future. We'll have a look at that. We've also got another one which is proposed that we use in the back-end analytics. And transparency aspects of the system, which is really allowing your workforce to explore other alternatives that might be suitable for their skills. Okay, so let's just pause there and we'll start with chapter 1, what are requirements? Okay, so welcome to chapter 1, and this chapter we're going to just look at what we mean by requirements, just to highlight the terminology and why we use that term. So I'm logged in here to the SkillsTX administration console. I've got access to every aspect here, so lots of different options, and I'm going to click the one, not surprising, that says manage requirements. Okay, so what I've got here is a list of requirements in this tenancy, and you can see if we look at the name column here that the vast majority of what you can see are actually equivalent to a job or a role, and that is the most common use of requirements. However, I could just as easily create a requirement for a project, for example. So pretty simple. If I come in, add new, just select real high level. I want to say that this is a role. This can be digital transformation. And then I select the skills that are required. I can add lots of other information here which probably wouldn't be relevant. I can even copy skills from existing requirements that are already in the system, so I can merge them together to create a new requirement. So it really is as simple as just working through and selecting the skills that are relevant to that requirement. Of course, what we've got here very much aligns with typical jobs, roles and positions, where we've got status, employment status, etc., because that is the vast majority of how requirements get used in the system. Okay, so that was a high level of requirements. We'll look next at the samples that we've got in the system. Okay, so this chapter we'll just have a quick look at the samples. Basically, we scan the Sophia body of knowledge, and wherever there are public domain requirements that have been defined by various bodies and organisations across the globe, assuming the copyright is okay, we load them into SkillsTX and make them available to our user base. Now that's pretty good news because I'll just show you how we might use that. So in here I'm going to click on sample requirements, and I've already preloaded it with a search. So let's say we want to create a new role of a DevOps engineer. I can just come in here, type in DevOps, and it's gone and scanned the samples, and you can see we've actually got 16 samples of a DevOps engineer. ANSCO, which is the Australia New Zealand Occupational Standards, Australian Public Sector, DDAT is the UK. I'll see if we have any more. Let's just expand that list. European Union, and we've got ones that are what we call Sophia views. So you can see here, really simple. If I wanted to load in the and score 1 here, I just click and copy, and that will just copy that requirement into my environment, and I can edit it from there, and that's the next chapter that we'll look at. Okay, welcome chapter 3. This is maintaining requirements. So again, in the administration console here, I want to update and check out one of our data roles or requirements. So just have a quick look here at this data modeler. Just going to click the information button. We've got some basic information here relating to this, so reference number, who can see it, really important. And a really important aspect of this, we can actually issue the maintenance of this requirement out to maybe the manager or team leader that looks after the data modeling team. If I just go into edit here, I can select an owner. So for anyone in the organization, when they next log in, they will be able to see and edit this requirement. I can control who can see it, employees, candidates, and employees, or nobody. So when we're building the role initially, we'll normally have that set to like no one can see it, whilst we fine tune the actual definition. And various other things down here, and of course, a full-time equivalent headcount. So if we need 10 data modelers, we can put that in here, and the system will do some analytics to tell us what our skill gaps are. Okay, just going to close out of that. Go into the actual editor itself. So when we actually go in to edit one of these requirements, obviously I've got the edit button up here. I can print a copy of this. We've got a concept of required skills and desirable skills indicated by this key up here, solid and stripes. And down here I can see, just by hovering, this particular requirement needs methods and tools, and more importantly here we can add additional information. So you can see you've got all sorts of other information relating to that skill. So absolutely specific to your organization's requirements. So I've got the skills here, and if I scroll further down, this is where I add other information to flesh out the actual description. So bearing in mind there usually are roles and jobs, we can put other things like purpose, key accountabilities, etc., educational requirements, locations, and such like. So it becomes a very broad definition that can be used as a replacement for your existing position, role, or job descriptions. Okay, we'll move on and we'll have a look at how we assign requirements to individuals in the next chapter. Just before we move on to the assigning of requirements, just to complete the maintenance aspect of this, you can see here that we've got the ability to export all of the details in here, and we've got the ability to re-import. So we can do bulk updates basically. Okay, let's have a look at assigning requirements. So we can do this from within the administration console. So for each individual, we can assign a current, a future, and a proposed requirement. Current and future are visible to the end user. So when one of these users logs in, they will see the current requirement and the percentage match. So currently this user here has got current requirements of multimedia developer, and they're a 76% match, currently don't have a future requirement locked in. The next person down, software developer looking to be a systems analyst, and the percentage match. I can use this proposed column when the jobs are not yet visible to assign it to an individual, so I can do some analytics before I make it visible to them. Within the actual planner, if you want to see how an individual can assign themselves, then have a look at the employee user experience demo, and you can see in there how an individual can view the requirements in the system, look at the match percentage, and if you give them the appropriate permissions, they can assign themselves. Of course, you can control that from within the administration console. Okay, in this final chapter, we're going to look at the concept of transparency. I just mentioned that from an employee point of view, depending on the rights you're provided, they can view and assign themselves to requirements. So I'm logged in here as an end user. I'm just going to click on this option here, option 2, and I'm going to sort on descending percentage match. So I can see here my current role as this user is the manager of the program office, and the future role is to be the manager of vendor relations. So a little bit of a pivot there. But what I can do here is see there's another role here. Maybe I am interested in the relationships side. If I click on that, it will actually take me into that requirement and show me the skills that are needed. So transparency, very much the name of the game. I can explore all of the roles, jobs, positions, as we call them, requirements that have been made visible in the system and explore what skills are required. I'm going to take that one step further here. You can see that this individual is able to select the future requirement. I'm not going to change this, but here we can see that they've got vendor relations as their future. But what I can do here, again, transparency, I can overlay that future requirement with my skills, and it's giving me indicators where I match, where I don't match, etc. So I get that very visual representation of where I need to focus my attention. And in the action plan, I get the same information where it actually shows me skill gaps, and I can create actions against them. All of that covered in other demos. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you on another demo very soon.